Trading Composure here for a trading psychology lesson. In this one, I'd like to talk about FOMO, an acronym for the fear of missing out. And I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it before. When you're under the influence of FOMO, you commonly tend to override your trading plan by making changes to your trades, by increasing your risk when you shouldn't, by entering trades before you even get a signal, by not getting out where you should when your price target is reached or when your stop loss is reached, and so on and so forth. Now, in order to eradicate a problem like that, we have to understand it in the first place, right? We have to understand what we're dealing with. All right? I mean, at a fundamental level. And so, what is FOMO? More fundamentally, what are the physical and psychological implications of FOMO? What are the physical and psychological implications of FOMO? And how can you think clearly in the very midst of it? To answer these questions, we have to first look at what emotions are, objectively speaking, and in truth, experts have a hard time reaching any kind of consensus there, because an emotion is such a deeply personal and subjective experience. But most experts will agree on three things. Number one, the mid layer of the brain, also called the midbrain, is where emotions originate. It's like a little core beneath all the layers and all the other layers and structures of the brain. And second, emotions are usually accompanied by a complex series of physical changes throughout the body. Third, these inner physical changes, they prepare us, they condition us to take action in the world. And in our subjective experience, this manifests in a variety of ways. Butterflies in the stomach, a lump in the throat, shaky hands and knees, difficulty to breathe, restless energy throughout the entire body, racing thoughts. We also notice emotions as urges to act in a particular way, like cry, laugh, fight, hide, and so on. Once again, in trading, when you're under the influence of FOMO, you commonly tend to override your trading plan and make irrational decisions in the heat of the moment. But notice the word I used here, tend. A tendency. A tendency a tendency means that we're inclined to do something, but it doesn't mean that we have to do it. It doesn't mean that we have no choice. This is very important to understand. It doesn't mean we have no choice. Let's say you're anxious about missing out on a trade. You will certainly have the tendency to do certain things that you wouldn't do otherwise, that you wouldn't do when you're at your most rational. But no matter how hard-hitting the emotions are and compelling the thought is, you can choose to stick with your trading plan and your sort of longer term objectives. You can choose. The experience of FOMO certainly varies from person to person, as does any emotions. But once again, no matter how hard-hitting the symptoms are for you, they certainly do not control your behavior. Emotions do not control your behavior. Here's a simple example to illustrate why. I'm sure you've ever felt, I'm sure you felt angry before, but chose to remain calm and chose to act calmly. I'm sure you have, right? I mean, I have quite often. In fact, people always tell me, Yvan, you're so calm and composed and equanimous, even amidst high pressure situations and difficult conversations. And sure, I mean, I might look that way on the outside, right? I choose to remain calm and equanimous and composed and all of that. That's my behavior. But inside, you'd be surprised to hear that I'm often losing my shit. My emotions are all over the place. And I'm sure you've experienced this too. Even though you feel like bursting out, you feel like you want to show your anger and your frustration and you want to act it out. You actually manage to speak slowly and remain calm and act calmly while maintaining a look of serenity on your face. And what prevents you from acting out your anger, let's say? Well, the answer is your will, isn't it? It's your will. It's just that. You could find a variety of reasons to explain why you acted that way, but inherently it's all just, it's your will, all right? It's your will. In other words, you had a tendency to be angry, but you chose not to. You chose not to be. You chose not to act out your anger. Here's the point I'm trying to hammer home here. At the end of the day, what you value matters more than how you feel in the moment. What you value matters more than how you feel in the moment. And so if you value your relationship with your partner more than your ego, let's say, you will do everything to protect your relationship. If you value your health more than some fleeting short-term pleasure, you will find a way to stop smoking or to reduce the number of cigarettes you smoke every day. If you value consistency in trading more than your emotions, you will do what you know you should do. You will stick with your trading plan. Understand what you value, and you will have a better understanding of why you behave the way you behave. Understand what you value, and you'll have a much easier, a much better understanding of why you behave the way you behave. You'll also have an easier time sticking with what you value. Okay? Understand what you value. This is very important. Even though you can't really control your emotions and the way you feel, you can directly control your behavior. You can directly control your behavior. And what you value determines to a large extent how you behave. Regardless of what our tendency is in the moment. Look, this realization has an important practical implication for you as a trader. Because once you understand what you value, okay, you'll have a much easier time focusing on what you value. You'll have an easier time focusing on what you value. And you'll you'll tend to want to focus on what you can control rather than what you can't. The idea that emotions control our actions is widely accepted as a fact, and it's a very powerful illusion. But it's just that. It's an illusion. And it's so anchored in our mind that it's hard to believe otherwise. But let's get back to FOMO. When you're in that state, when you're in the midst of FOMO, just remember that even the best traders out there experience this. They really do. They experience FOMO. And probably as often as you do. But the big difference is that consciously or unconsciously, they've somehow managed to develop a will that is stronger than their FOMO. Successful traders have somehow managed to develop a will that is stronger than their FOMO. That's one. Second, because they also know that their will is subject to changes. It depletes throughout the day. Successful traders have a set of rules that takes most of the hard decisions out of their hands. In other words, successful traders have a plan, and they have learned to trust and follow that plan. They've learned to do what needs to be done instead of what's easy to do in the moment. Okay? They don't do what's easy in the moment to the detriment of their long-term goals, the long-term objectives. It's like going to the gym, you know? It ain't easy, right? But you still go. Why do you still go? Because you want the results. And it's exact same thing in trading. You stick with your trading plan, you stick with your rules, you stick with your risk management protocols because you want the results. You want consistency. So I'll keep this lesson short. In conclusion, in essence, it seems as if emotions like FOMO causes us to lose in the markets, but actually it's not true. It's not the whole picture. We only lose because we've developed bad habits. But you can consistently, if you can consistently bring your attention to how you're feeling in the moment, in the midst of FOMO, and if you can consciously observe how this is giving you the tendency to behave in a certain way, not the obligation, you'll still be able to control your actions, no matter how hard-hitting the emotions are. Understand what you value, and you'll have an easier time being consistent in the market. Understand what you value. And this is how you beat FOMO.